Hello. Good evening, and welcome to this evening session of Leadership Advantage Live. Leadership Advantage Live. I'd like to welcome you all. Please like, share, subscribe. Please subscribe to the channel before you leave. Subscribe to the channel before you leave. Just take a few seconds. Please subscribe, like, and share for as many people as possible. Thank you for joining me in this evening's conversation. I will be discussing about ideas to income, and part of part of the part of the amazing thing about this conversation is the approach I want to use. I want to really teach about the fact that all ideas are not created equal. There are ideas, and then there are ideas. There are ideas that work, and then there are ideas that it's just an emotional thing where you just you just love the idea, and a lot of times it doesn't really work, it doesn't really convert, it doesn't do anything for you and for society. So I'm going to be discussing about what ideas are, how ideas the fact that all ideas are not created equal, and the fact that where what is the source of great ideas, how ideas form, how are ideas that work, how are they formed. And then when we begin to break down how to then take an idea that works, how do we take that and turn it into a product or a service? It can be an idea about a divine revelation from God, something that the Lord spoke to you about very strongly, very passionately. How do you walk that through realistic, on ground realities and double check it, clarify it? Uh, how do you validate that? How do you move that from the pictures in your head into on ground realities? It can be something the Lord spoke to you about. It can be a dream in your heart. It can be a passion you have held to be true. It can be a clear, powerful product idea or a service idea that can impact the world, that can touch humanity, that can make changes to the life of people. But as long as it's in your head alone, or it's just in the raw state of it, it is not useful for anybody. It's not useful for you. It's not useful for people around you. It's not useful for society at large. So how do you turn ideas into income generating ventures? That is my focus this evening. All right. So again, please subscribe, please like, please share. I will really, really appreciate that. Okay. So let us get into my conversation. Let us get into my conversation this evening. Let us get into my conversation this evening. All right. So, what are ideas? That's the question. What are ideas? What are ideas? Or what is an idea? What what is an idea? That's a sounds like a basic thing, but I would like to begin from that, right? What are ideas? All right. So a lot of time most people use the word idea, they use it casually, right? But an idea is a mental representation of what is possible in your life, in the environment, in society, what is possible, just in general. An idea is a image, it's a graphical or imaginary representation of a possibility, any possibility of any kind. An idea is a mental picture of a possibility of any kind, any kind, possibility of any kind. Right? It is how our mind an idea is how our mind responds to gaps. It's how our mind responds to perceived problems, or you notice something, a frustration or an experience. It can be anything. It's just how our mind responds to filling up what it is not physically seeing, or what it is not obvious, what is not clear, what is not there. Your mind makes, right, mental representation or a mental formation, all right, a mental image of what is possible and how to fill it up. right? So if somebody says, I would like to eat chicken and rice tomorrow, if somebody says, I would like to eat chicken and rice tomorrow, an idea is your mind creating that representation of that thing that it cannot see. It is not seeing the person saying it. It's unable to see the person saying it, or because it's not obvious. It's in a conversation. But your mind, what your mind does is your mind formulates image from all of its experience, it's from its models, all of your mental models. Your mind uses those models to see, do I have an image of rice? Do I have an image of chicken? And your mind begins to craft a representation of what it is hearing. That representation that your mind creates is an idea. It's an idea. It picks bits and pieces of image and thoughts and context that it has concerning a particular issue, and it forms a representation of it, and your mind holds that image and fills the gap of what it is not seeing based on the conversation or the context that it is. That is what an idea is. That is what an idea is. It is now, this is important. Every idea at its origin is your brain saying something could be different here, or something needs to be filled up here, or this is incomplete. I need to fill in that gap, and I need to make an imaginary representation of what I think this thing is saying. That is really how ChatGPT and AI. That's one level of how ChatGPT and AI works. I need to do I have a resource with inside me that I can use to fill this thing up, that this gap is requiring. That's how ideas, that's the origin of what ideas is saying, is your brain or your mind saying, something can be different here, or I need to make a change here, I need to change something here. Right? So this is important because it means ideas, and this is one of the most important points I want to make as well. Ideas are not random. Ideas are not random. You cannot generate ideas beyond your personal quality. You cannot generate ideas beyond your personal quality, right? For, by a large mile. And of course, I usually cannot say never when I'm talking about something that God is involved in. But you hardly can even receive divine revelation. You can hardly receive divine revelation that is superior to your human capacity to handle it. Right? So all of how you are able to generate ideas relies carefully a on your mental infrastructure and what is possible within your mind, right? So they are hardly bolts of lightning. They are hardly like bolts of lightning that strikes, and then all of a sudden you just get smart bright ideas, right? This is not the movies. Right? So they are outputs of your they are outputs of the things that you observe, the things that you consume. They are what happens when an attentive mind meets an unresolved problem, or a gap, right? You don't wait for ideas. You develop the kind of attention, the kind of observatory mind, and the kind of you consume the kind of knowledge and information that produces them consistently. So you can become you can develop the kind of mind and the kind of brain that allows you to generate consistent ideas that work, whether it's a business idea or a product idea, or just innovative ideas to solve your personal problems, or change ideas to help you improve on something, recreate something, or develop something. It can be about your response to questions. You can generate powerful ideas that allows you respond correctly to your personal problems around you, fill in gaps, make contributions, make contribution to conversation. You can build your mind, to have the capacity to actually generate ideas in response to a gap, in response to a conversation, in response to a problem, in response to an experience. Right? You can develop the mindset. Ideas are not random. Ideas are hardly a result of a thunder striking or lightning striking, and then you just all of a sudden just come up with ideas. There is a method to idea generation. There's a method to idea production, and that method is about the kind of content that you consume, because your models, the kind of mental model that you possess requires or determines the kind of output that you produce. All right. So, and that model is developed, is designed. It's designed by the quality of the content that you consume, the kind of the level of attention that you pay to details, and your ability to make connection between disparate things that don't seem to connect. Do you have the capability to make the connection and to develop new models and to see new imaginary representation of of the kind of outcome you're looking to achieve? This is practically how ideas, what ideas are, and basically how ideas are formed. This is very, 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 very important note to make as we begin to journey into the conversation. All right. So, and also ideas exist in its rawest form. Ideas, when they come to you, the law of first mention, in a sense, the law of first contact of ideas is that they are not in their most processed form. They're always raw, undefined, and at the moment when ideas are born, and then there is just a signal. It's hardly ever fully formed. It's hardly ever at its best state. It's probably at a blueprint level. It's probably at a first contact level where it still requires a lot of work. It has no structure. It requires you to validate it. When ideas are born, there it might have no pathway to you for you to execute it. It's a starting point. It's not the destination of the idea. It's not all of what the idea can be. But it is an idea. It's in its rawest form, but it's not all of what it can be. And who knows what an idea can become? An idea you are currently not seeing, something you have been thinking about starting, something you have been thinking about becoming or doing, or some changes you have been thinking about making. Who knows what it can become? From the high rise from the high rise in Manhattan to smartphones and to electric cars, or even horses that can pull carriages, to phones with wires, to the fact that I can be in my home right now, broadcasting to as many people as possible who can even see this later. They were all result of an idea that, when those ideas were conceived, was not conceived at this level. It was conceived at a raw form. And because a person trusted that idea enough and worked on it and validated it and created context around it and evolved around it and did all what it required to move an idea into an income generating venture, we are sitting here today with a world of powerful innovations, because people were able to commit resource to idea, build that idea, and turn it into product and services that we are all enjoying on our life, our experiences, how we lead, how we live, how we love, how we learn, and how we engage is better for it, because ideas that were worked on have become product and services that we use in our everyday life. That is the game of ideas. That is the power of ideas. That is the proof of God's divine genius, right? The fact that signals can drop in your consciousness right now about something you are thinking about, something you are calculating. Signals can drop. It can be a thought. It can be a flash in your mind. It can be a replay of even a movie or a conversation you had before. It can be a pressing thought in your heart. You wake up in the morning and it's become a pressing thought. Call this person. It becomes a pressing thought. Send this message. It becomes a pressing thought. Something that becomes unshakable. Now, some can become so unshakable, and some can be fleeting. Some can be just a flash and it is gone. Others can be very dominant in your mind for days. Some can be for hours. It all depends on your context and how you respond. Okay, so these are the power of ideas. This is the power of ideas. That's what ideas are. An idea is an imaginary representation of a possibility of any kind. An idea is an imaginary representation of a possibility of any kind. And they are formed, they are not random. They are not random. No idea is random. You hardly can get an idea by light dramatic moments. You don't wait for, not all idea comes with dramatic energy that sort of like shakes you, and you tremble and you almost want to fall down, and you, oh my God, I just saw. No. Not all ideas follow that pathway. A lot of it is systematic. It is not random, and it's a clear reaction or a clear result of all of what you consume, the quality of your environment, mental environment first, and physical environment as well. It's also a result of the kind of attention to detail that you pay to things and how you're able to recognize your capacity to recognize. And a lot of it is also about your overall consumption. You will never produce ideas that are greater than all of what you consume in the kind of information, the kind of content, the kind of knowledge that you possess. That forms your model, and your model produces ideas, right? So that's the path, and that is what ideas are. Right. So let's get into is there anything I want to add? So there are a couple of things that help define every idea in its basic form. What helps define an idea in its basic form? It is a perceived gap, something is missing or broken, something in the conversation is missing. You cannot either see it or have a thought to cover it, and then your mind produces an idea. Now, your mind can produce a wrong idea because you don't have the requisite infrastructure or knowledge or resource to produce the right idea in that context. All right. So, an imagined alternative, a vision of how things could be, and a person who notices both. So, you are always a part of your idea, right? So, yeah, clear. You are part of idea. Your experience, your context, and your perspective shape what you see and what you believe is possible. This is why two people can look at the same problem and produce entirely different ideas about how two people can look at the same problem and produce entirely miles apart different ideas on how to resolve that. All right, so let's get into other things. All right, so all ideas are not created equal. All ideas are not created equal. All right, that's all ideas are not created equal. All ideas are not created equal. All ideas are not created equal. There are ideas and then there are ideas. All right, so once people understand what an idea is, right? So the next thing is, you need to confront an uncomfortable reality, and that reality is that not all ideas deserve to be built. All right, some ideas are just, oh, nice, and then you move on. Some ideas are just, surface level ideas helping you connect to the next one, right? So believing otherwise, that all ideas, every idea you have is a powerful idea, and especially for if you're born again and you're a Christian, you have a temptation to believe or to overrate the quality of ideas that come to your soul as your spirit receiving divine instruction or divine concept from God. You have a temptation. And I'm not downplaying that. I'm not downplaying the fact that our spirit man can receive inspiration from God. And that's a fact. That's the truth. But not all ideas that come into your soul is a result of some spiritual deposit from God. Some ideas are just your mind responding to things that is seen, and a lot of times you have to be careful around that if you're born again. Right. So believing otherwise is one of the most expensive mistakes that people make, especially if you're trying to build a business, you're trying to launch a product, you're trying to create a service. Right. So and you have to also realize that ideas as it were exist within a spectrum, or they exist on a spectrum. Now, at one end of that spectrum are very, very genuinely valuable ideas. You know, they solve real problems. They can change society, change people's life, impact realistically on people and how they live, how they love, how they learn. All right, those ideas are they are ideas we all aspire for. We all aspire to. We want ideas that really, really shake the earth, that move humanity forward by a mile. All right. And on one end of the spectrum are ideas that are valuable. On the other end of the spectrum, right, you have ideas that just feel exciting. They have no real market value. They have no clear buyer. They don't convert to anything. It's just an idea for the sake of an idea in that sense. And most ideas, if we're honest, live somewhere in the middle. Most ideas, if we're honest, live somewhere in the middle of that spectrum between ideas that are greatly valuable and ideas that are really, really not valuable in terms of market consideration. Very important in terms of market consideration. Most ideas we have are in the middle of that spectrum. The spectrum between very powerful ideas, very great, valuable market changing ideas, and non-valuable, have no impact on the market ideas. Most ideas really, really are in the spectrum. They are somewhere in the middle there of very valuable and not so valuable. What separates a strong idea from a weak one comes down to a couple of things. All right. What separates a very strong idea from a very weak idea comes down to a couple of things. All right. So let's look at those things. All right. Let's look at those things. One of those things is how relevant is the idea? A strong idea that solves problems, that a strong idea that actually solve people's problem. All right. That solve problem that people actually have, not an invented problem, not a problem that you think exists, not a problem that theoretically, if you do this and this theoretically, not theoretical problems, but a strong idea that solves practical problems in people's life. Um, Such an idea, if you have to, that idea has to solve people's problem. That's that's what makes it relevant. What makes an idea relevant is that it solves people's problem, not not an imaginary problem. If you have to convince people, if you have to convince people all the time, all right, if you have to convince people that they have a problem that your idea solves, then you yourself have a problem. All right. If you have to convince people extra, you have to make extra effort. You have to really come on, you have to like make extra effort and show them, and then it's not at its highest level of relevance. All right. So relevance separates weak ideas from strong ideas. Urgency as well. People act on problems that are painful enough to demand a solution. People have to the degree of how urgent they need the solution is what separates a strong idea from weak idea. How urgent is it? Like the problem that the people are facing with that idea, how urgent do they need the solution? So can they is there an emergency, or can they schedule it? You know what, maybe some other time, maybe yeah, it's nice. All right. That's that's also a way you want to be the solution people people were already looking for before they found you. That's how urgent you want your ideas to be, your business, your product, or services, in that sense, in the context of what we are discussing. All right. So feasibility, how feasible is it? A great idea in theory that you cannot execute is not a great idea for you right now. Feasibility is the intersection of your current skill, resource, and access. Right? This does not mean you should only pursue. You should not. This doesn't mean you should pursue only easy ideas. Right? It means you must be honest about what you can actually build and sequence your ambition accordingly. So, what separates a great idea from a weak one is feasibility. How quickly can you put it together? Are the resources available? Are the infrastructures, the machinery required to develop them, to build them, are they readily available? And another thing that separates great ideas from weak ideas is viability, right? So this is the question about this is practically this is a business question. This is a question, right? This is a question. It's a clear business question. It's a question that talks practically. It's a question that talks that speaks practically um to the viability in itself. Is there a market for it? Are there customers? Can you identify the customers? Does the idea help you clearly identify the customers? This viability question the market in itself for the idea. Is there a market for that idea? Clear market for the idea, or something that you have to go on? And the best ideas are ideas that already has a market, or at least the the business clear, or the ideas that you should pursue with utmost urgency would be ideas that already has a market, not some invention in your head that it's not relevant in terms of it doesn't solve any practical problem. It's not urgent in the sense that people will not respond to it as quickly as possible. It's not a need, it's not a real need, it doesn't touch any real pain point. Then that in itself is a problem. All right. Then it's not feasible in terms of all of the what is required to make it. All right. Imagine the person Imagine if in 1960 somebody was already talking about video calls. All right. The technology and society were not even at that point yet. All right. So that will not be a feasible idea. It can become a basis for other things that is possible, but that will not become a feasible idea in that point. So he has to pass the relevance test, he has to pass the urgency test. How urgent is it? How much need does it really meet? He has to pass the urgency test. He has to pass the feasibility test in terms of is it feasible to the product and the infrastructure, the resource you need, assess everything that you need to build it feasible. Can you if you have a green light, can you build it now? Can you produce it now? Can you offer the service now? All right. He has to pass the feasibility test and he has to pass the viability test. The viability test then talks about is the market ready for it now? Is there a market for it? Is there a customer base for it? Does the customer have the requisite income? Is it cheap enough? That is about the viability test, right? So, Inamdi is asking a question: how can you tell an idea that is incredible and what market value? So that's what they're discussing. That's the next part of this conversation. How do you break down the idea? How do you tell you have do you how do you pass the viability test for it? I know that's I can see that's what you're asking. All right, so it's about how do you pass the viability test, and we'll get it. That's where I think we are getting into right now. All right, so can the viability test can the idea generate income? Is there a group of people who will pay for it? And all that. So um, one of the another very powerful thing is about timing, ideas and timing. There's nothing more powerful than an idea that its time has come. There's nothing more powerful than an idea that its time has come. So some ideas are right, but arrive in the wrong moment. You can, if you think back in your life, you were it was and what defines timing? Well, it's just like a I want is time. One the time is right, time is right. When time is wrong, time is wrong. Is there a control to it? Is there a design to timing in that sense? It can be timing can be about your capability, it can be about your context, it can be about your assets, it can be about a lot of things. You can have a great idea and not in the timing in terms of to execute it. All right. So there are a lot of things. Some ideas are right, but they arrive at the wrong timing. The market isn't ready. There's no technology for it yet, like I was explaining, or the cultural context does not support it yet. All right. It's like saying you want to sell ice to an Eskimo. All right. Their cultural context, if you have that idea, that idea does not have culture fit with the people that you are trying to sell it to. All right. So timing is harder to control. That's a fact. But it is what sort of like thinking about, is what considering. As if you are struggling with an idea to execute an idea, you might give yourself an opportunity to think about, is it a timing issue? Is it a viability issue? Or is it a feasibility issue? These are all things you can check. All right. So your job is not to fall in love with your idea. And a lot of idea people always fall in love with their ideas. A lot of idea people always fall in love with your idea. That's not your job. Nah, it's a very dangerous place to be in, to fall in love with a particular idea, and you begin to pump in resources and energy and time and years into getting the ideas to be born. And if it doesn't pass all those other tests or is in the wrong timing, you're going to have a lot of heartbreak. You think breakfast from a love relationship is terrible. Have a heartbreak of having an idea that you cannot breathe. Oof. Oh boy, it's so painful to have an idea you cannot bet, or you don't have the infrastructure to bet it, and you're just walking around with an idea that you think is powerful, but you don't have the infrastructure, the feasibility, nothing to bet it. It's very, very heartbreaking. So your job is not to fall in love with your idea. Your job is to evaluate it honestly, to think through it, all right? Against all of these things, does it pass the feasibility test? Does it pass the viability test? Does it pass the timing test? Does it pass the urgency test? You have to test your ideas. You have to test them against all of this quality, and not just the multiple other qualities, all right, and deserve whether it deserve your time, energy, and resource, all right, to do your research. Does your that idea pass those tests? If it does, then you can then move to the next phase, all right. Most ideas don't pass this test, and that's a fact. I'm in the business of ideas and thoughts, all right. So I know I people share ideas with me every other day. What do you think about this, Joshua? What do you think about this, JT? A lot of ideas don't pass those tests. All right. So if your ideas don't pass the feasibility test or the viability test, that's not a failure. It's not a failure. All right. It's not a failure that it means, all right. It means you might need to pivot, you might need to make changes, you might need to revisit the overall conceptualization of the idea. You might need to make changes here and then. You might need to move into a whole new idea. You might need to abandon it, but it doesn't mean you have failed. All right. It just means that you have given yourself an opportunity to actually redirect and make changes to what you're doing. Right. So that's very important. Um, these are very, very important things to actually think about. Your Not all ideas are. So what have we shared so far? What have we shared so far? We've talked about ideas being mental representation of what is possible. Anything. Mental representation of what is possible. mental, imaginary representation of what is possible. That's what your ideas are. Um, I've also said not all ideas are not created equal. All ideas are not created equal. The ideas that work, they are great ideas. All ideas are not created equal, and all ideas exist in a spectrum. And the spectrum is between very valuable, powerful ideas and weak ideas that don't convert in terms of market conversion, anyways. All ideas exist within a spectrum. Very powerful ideas that changes how we live, how we love, how we learn, how we work, and then just weak ideas or just you know ideas that don't work. Now, most ideas that we are going to get in our lifetime will be somewhere in the middle. So you have to make it work, especially if you are getting ideas in the middle. All right, not ideas that are very very powerful. That when you get them, people just gravitate towards you. The ideas at that level, and the percentage of people get those ideas. For the rest of us, for the rest of us, we have to work hard on the ideas. We have to work hard every day on the ideas. We have to work hard every day on the ideas. Make sure they pass tests that are viability test, feasibility test, um, urgency test in terms of how relevant is the pain that people are feeling around those ideas. So for the most part, you know, we get ideas in the middle, in the sweet middle there, and we have to work on them. We have to really, really convert them, pass them through different phases of development, right? And then we can then convert them into a product or a service that can then generate income. That's the game, guys. That's the game, guys. All right. No more just dancing around, ideas. You can know for a fact if what the idea you have is business ready. And even if it's business ready, all right, what is the business case in it? All right. And just because there's a gap in the market does not always mean there's a market in the gap. Just because if you pass a street, for instance, or you drive past an environment, well, why is there no laundry shop in this place? If you don't do your research properly and you go and start a laundry shop, then you will know why you will know why there was a laundry, why nobody has ever opened a laundry shop there. All right. Just because there's a gap in the market doesn't mean there's a market in the gap. You have to do your test. You have to do your research. You have to think through the overall thing. You have to do the market. Is there a market for it? Is there? You have to think through all of these things and know for a fact if it's a if that idea is a goal. All right. So let's get into the other part of this conversation. I want to talk very, very quickly about where do great ideas come from. All right. Where do great ideas? So if strong ideas are not random, then there must be very, very clear sources from where you get great ideas from. All right. Understanding where great ideas come from gives you a repeatable method of generating them, and it stops you from wasting your time. So great ideas are born in the intersection of a couple of things. You will get great ideas when you are able to observe deeply, all right? And you have, and I want to emphasize on this great personal experience because a person who has worked in a particular industry for a couple of years have the better infrastructure to create great ideas within the industry. If you have worked in tech or you have worked in banking, you have worked in fashion for a couple of years, the quality of ideas you will have in that space will always be deeper and clearer than the person who is an outsider in that space. And that personal experience can be about your education around the idea, whether it's academic education or life education around the idea. It can be about um, your years of experience working that idea or conversating around that idea. All right. So three things will have to be in place for you to produce great ideas. You have to have deep powers of observation, and that is a learned skill. Being able to identify things, being able to see details. You cannot just be careless and random about life. You have to have deep powers of observation, recognition, the ability to think through things. You must have deep powers of observation, all right? And you must have deep, clear personal experience around where you are trying to generate idea from, either from your academic experience or life experience or working experience or in itself about a particular issue. It can be a painful experience, it can be a joyful experience, but you must have a deep personal experience around the area where you're trying to get great ideas from, or you can have genuine curiosity. And many great ideas have been born from genuine curiosity as well. But great, really, really great ideas that work has to be, it has to have, have to have touch points around, you know, deep observation, a wide personal experience and genuine curiosity. All right. So when all these three things are active in a person or in a season of your life, you begin to get powerful ideas. Great ideas just become inevitable in a sense. All right. And you come into that moment where your observatory power is just your observatory senses are so heightened, and right, and that intersects with a particular experience you have about an issue. It can be a painful experience, it can even be a joyful experience, it can be an enjoyable, a bitter experience, a bad customer service experience around the product, and then you just start thinking about how do I make that experience better, and then with the level of curiosity that comes from that, you just produce really great ideas. I can share stories about how people have an experience about something and they tell themselves, I can do this better. And they supply curiosity in that direction, and they become millionaires and multi-billionaires. It can be just the observatory part. Okay, I'm working. People who are working in one company, for instance, and then I'm working in Google, and I observe something that we can make better, and I leave and go and do it. Or I'm working in GTB, and I want to make something, and I will go and create another bank. Or I'm working in the fintech, and then I saw another segment of the market that this my company is not currently serving, and I go and serve that segment of the market. I validate the idea, and I go and serve that segment. So these are all how great ideas are formed. All right. So the most constant source of great ideas is simply paying close attention. Just paying close attention to the world around you. You cannot be floating through life. No, you cannot. You cannot be floating through life. You cannot just be yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, you cannot be floating through life. If you want to generate great ideas, you have to be you have to really, really pay close attention to things. All right. You have to pay close attention to knowledge, how the world works. And this level of observation stems from great sense of awareness. All right. Sense of awareness of the world, sense of awareness of yourself, sense of awareness of your context, with the world you are playing in, the game you are playing in. All right. You have to pay close attention to the world around you, pay close attention to things. If you are experiencing something for the first time, pay attention, be curious about it. All right. Don't just jump around. Like, this is not even just about ideas that you want to turn into a business. This is just about opening your imaginative power in general, right? You want to come to a point where you are paying close attention to things. If you are experiencing something for the first time, you want to make sure you are paying close attention to it, to learn about it. It's about having a consciousness of learning. All right, being conscious about learning and opening up your sensory receptors to all of the powerful information that is locked up in the environment that you are living in. All right, you want to pay close attention to things. Right, every inefficiency you notice, you want to pick everything, every frustration, every joy, every creative image, you want to pay close attention to it. You want to be alive. You want to be present, right? And people who are in such a state will always have great resources to draw ideas from. All right. The builders who generate the most valuable ideas are not necessarily the smartest people. Not all the time. Not all the time. You have to be smart, but you don't have to be the smartest person in the world. They are just the people who pay the most attention. In the story where Sam Walton, the founder of Walmart, was somewhere in a remote place on vacation I think in Mexico or in Brazil. And this is Sam Walton, who is the founder of Walmart. Walmart had mega stores all over America at that time, but he went into a store and he was humble enough, attentive enough to notice something in a small store in a vacation spot somewhere in Mexico or in Brazil. And he was able to pay attention to that. And he saw a way that they were arranging their goods and services in a way that was better than how he was arranging it in his mega store. That's how you want to be. You want to be an attentive person. You want to be an aware person. You want to be a present person. You want to be able to look at things and really see them. As again, just glide. And people glide through things. pay less attention, pay no attention to the world around them. They pay no attention to conversations. They are not, and that's why their creative juices is not flowing in any direction. They're just bland and they respond blandly to all kinds of things. Right? You want to pay quality attention to things, all right? You want to be an attentive person, and that makes you very observant. And that power of observation helps open the door to great possibility of catching ideas that are great and are powerful on the earth, or at least somewhere in the middle. All right. So also it's about personal experience. Many of the strongest ideas comes from lived experiences. All right. When you have felt a problem deeply, all right, or you have struggled with something, or you have lost time or money, and you feel a strong sense of pain about something, then you begin to pay more attention to that thing. Like, well, how do I stop this? How do I change this? How do I make sure this doesn't happen again? All right, you know the nuance of the problem in a way someone who only researches will never do. Right, you have worked in an industry, or you studied it in your deep research. You worked in it, or you had a personal experience around it, a family member experience around it, something you observe very closely. Lived experiences produce very powerful ideas. Sometimes it can also get in the way, but lived experiences also produce powerful ideas around something. All right. Another thing is genuine curiosity. Right? Genuine curiosity, real curiosity. So you supply curiosity in the direction of something, it begins to open up to you. You begin to see connections between things that don't connect when you supply curiosity in the direction of a thing. All right. So, but beyond all of this, anywhere a group of people have, or anywhere a group of people has a clear need, that exists, or that existing solutions have not gotten to, undeserved market also helps you see ideas. You see ideas, great ideas from observing undeserved market or unreached market, what they call untapped market. All right. Emerging situations as well. All right. When technology changes and social behavior is shifting, for instance, AI now is shifting behavior, is shifting response. Myself and a friend were discussing something yesterday, and we're discussing how AI is changing how we learn. All right. So when technology changes and social behavior is beginning to shift, people are still adjusting right now so you see that the AI market is an emerging market. So that's a market you want to begin to pay attention to and want to play in. You want to ask yourself, what kind of product and service can I supply to the AI market? All right. So when new platform is rising and when new economic conditions are being created by the emergence of new technology or new possibilities, you want to get into that. That means new problems will come out of it. And if new problems come out of it, I mean, that's new ideas you can supply, new solutions you can solve. All right. So you want to begin to ask yourself, what does this change create for me? What does this change? What demand does this change create? And how do I plug into it? That's the question you want to ask yourself. And of course, when markets are opening, it means old markets begins to get abandoned. People begin right now, everybody wants to be AI this. So people are abandoning other very profitable markets. So you want to go and tap into the market as well. All right. So you can also get it from, you also get great ideas from um, undeserved, underserved markets, emerging markets, or emerging technology, emerging trends, and also conversations with people. We're having conversations right now, and this kind of conversation can spur ideas to be born in your consciousness. All right, and that's why you can see the people you listen to, listen to tapes, listen to seminars, listen to podcasts around something you are trying to build. One conversation of great quality, of this type of quality, right? One conversation of quality that we're having right now can really open you up to like a solo brainstorming, and then powerful ideas just gush into your consciousness, and then you are ready to go. Right. So you do not wait for great ideas, right? You develop the habits, such as observation, reflection, the experiences, curiosity, or you observe underserved environment, underserved markets, or you observe emerging transitions, whether it's technology, whether it's trends, whether it's markets, and then you observe such a thing, you pay keen attention to that, and then you can begin to create powerful ideas that you can convert into a product and that can lead to incomes. All right. Whoa. You getting value so far? You getting value so far? Are you getting value so far? Inamdi, have I been able to answer your question? Are you getting value so far? Please feel free to comment, feel free to ask questions, but most especially feel free, please subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Just look for the channel, look for the subscribe button, and please subscribe. I know you can hear me. I know you can hear me. Please subscribe to the channel very quickly as well. All right. let's begin to get into the deeper part of this conversation. So, how do you move an idea to income? How do you move an idea to income? Oh, you have a great idea. Well, great. So, how do you move it into an? How do you turn that into an income? Right? Can you sell the idea? Which is one way you can sell the idea because people buy ideas as well. I know because I'm in the business of ideas. People buy ideas, but that's not the point of this conversation. All right. So, the pivot point between idea and income, the point where an idea pivots into becoming an income. This is the point of the whole conversation we're having, right? Everything before what I've been saying right now, it's about just understanding, how ideas are born, where they come from, how to tell how how to look at them. But how do you move an idea to income? All right, the path from idea to income is not a mystery in itself, right? It's a sequence of decision. It's a sequence of decisions, right, and actions. There are things you do. When you follow them, it's a science. When you follow them with a lot of honesty, with a lot of self-assessment, with a lot of reflection, you will get great results. All right. So you will get great results. All right. So here are a couple of things that helps you turn ideas into income and how you can then build your first product and your first service. Number one, you have to validate the idea. Number two, you have to define your target audience with precision. So validate the idea before you build anything. Define your target audience with a lot of clarity and a lot of precision, because whatever these things now, what if you do them wrongly or you make mistakes here, you are gonna build a terrible product that nobody wants to buy, therefore not making any income or even losing your income. All right. So define your offer with a lot of clear, just define a clear offer. Define a clear offer. All right. Choose the right vehicle. Is it a product? Is it a service? Is it going to be offline? Is it going to be online? This is how you choose the right vehicle. Uh, Also build build an MVP. What's the smallest possible product of that idea you can build and take to market and test as quickly as possible. Right. So build the minimum viable product, minimum viable offer, minimum viable service, whatever you want to call it, MVS, MVO, MVP. Just build the smallest version of it so they can test it as quickly as possible. All right. So get your first sale. Try and close your first sale as quickly as possible. Everything before your first sale is just preparation and testing. It's just development. Right. When you sell it, then you have made an income, and then you are ready to get into the market. Then after that, you begin to create a system around it, improve it, try and scale it, try and make some changes here and there. So these are the things, you validate the idea, you validate the idea, you validate the idea, you define the audience, you clarify the offer, you determine the vehicle you want to make it. Is it digital? Is it offline? You define the vehicle, then you get into making your MVP your MVP offer, MVP, your MVP product. That's your minimum viable product, your minimum viable offer, your minimum viable service, just a small, testable, quickly movable version of it. And then you make your first sale. Try and make your first sale with your MVP. Try and make your first sale to MVP. And the next thing you want to do is you want to then, if you can make a sale, it means something is happening, right? People are responding. Some people find it valuable enough to give you money for it, right? If you don't make a sale, that is the pointer that you need to make changes to it, reclarify it or make an adjustment to it. But if people pay for it, it means there's possibility. It doesn't mean it's going to become Facebook instantly, but it does show you that okay, so there's value in this thing, and people are willing to respond to it. So I want to get into it. I want to build it out. I want to then begin to push it. So you want to build systems around it then, and then improve it, make changes here and there, repackage it, and then you want to begin to sell it as quickly as possible as well. So again, please share, like, please subscribe as we continue. All right. So let's get into the meat of the matter. How do you validate an idea? How do you validate an idea? And this is the big thing. Most people don't know how to. And consultants charge hundreds of thousands of dollars globally to help validate ideas. But you cannot pay a consultant. You don't have money to go and give anybody. So how do you take your own idea and validate it? It begins from a lot of honesty, because a lot of people lie to themselves. It begins with like a lot of personal honesty. Tell yourself the truth first. You know, like there you have a really good base of honesty, right? So the validation process is the process of confirming. It's the process of with real evidence, not no longer the imaginary representation in your mind. No, no longer that. It's now about validation. It's now the word validates. Proof, evidence, facts, data. Yes, validation. Everything that describes validation. Yes, so you have this time to validate with real evidence that your idea is viable, that it has a viable market, that it is viable in itself before you put money in it, which a lot of times requires money to validate anyways. But at least you know have put a lot of money in validating it. Before you put money in it, before you invest serious income in it, serious money you have saved from your job or money you have, before you put money in it, validate it. Take a portion of that money and validate it. And validating means you are trying to get real evidence to back it up, right? And there are a couple of things in terms of how to validate it. The most common validation mistake people make is asking friends and family. Woo! Woo! Asking your friends and your family. And so, what do you think about this idea? What would they tell you? Would they tell you that? And a lot of them, your families and your friends, they are predisposed to kind of support you and they love you. And they want to just tell you, okay, yes, well, you can walk, oh. You can actually walk, oh. That's what you keep hearing. You can walk, oh. And you want to get real data and real evidence to push it. All right. People who care about you will always just tell you, you're doing well, you're doing well, it will work. And many people have sunk years of their life and money that they own into ideas that they cut. You know, I know somebody who's who started a farm in their compound. All right, so most of these ideas, a lot of times, if your friends and family, they'll just tell you, you can do this, you can do this. They just motivate you, and you're going to waste money, you're going to waste years, you're going to waste time. Right? Real validation comes from strangers who don't know you, who don't care about you. Put it out there. Let strangers respond. Put out a form. Let strangers respond. All right. um, Ask. Get people who have no emotional connection to you to respond to your data, to provide data for you. All right. So real validation comes from strangers who have no emotional investment in making you feel good. All right. So that helps you. There are a couple of ways to make validation. What are the few validation method that you can do, especially if you don't have money. If you don't have any money, you don't have any money, you can invest in any big consulting service or even researching institutions, right? So how do you want to just validate your idea quickly? So one of the ways is to have direct conversation with random people, not friends and family alone. Friends and family data is also good. Just be very clear with them that they should not be emotional with you. All right. So you can have direct conversation with people. Identify, say, 10 to 20 people. The more people you talk to, the more data pool you have. Identify people who you feel, okay, these people have enough a sense of being to answer me. All right. So you walk up to people, and it can be people who you know, who you work with across maybe different sectors, or people you just pick 10 sort of people. You can send them a message on WhatsApp, give them a call, ask them, please, I would like 10 minutes of your time just to ask you a few questions about an idea I'm working on. All right. You can also create like a form, a set of questions to help them answer the question very quickly. You can use a Google form on your own. You don't have to like go. You don't have to do any special thing. You can use a Google form, create a set of questions, make the question very clear, ask direct questions. Have you ever paid for something like this? If I help you do this and this and this, if I create a service to help you wash your clothes and come to your house, will you pay for it? Okay, so you begin to ask questions, identify like 10 or 20 people, and then begin to ask them questions. People who you feel that idea is going to serve, anyways, not just any random person. I think that's the thing. Not just any random person, the people you think this idea is going to serve. All right. How do you ask them? Go directly to them and ask them. Pick 10 or 20 of them and just ask them questions like and speak to them honestly. Don't pitch the idea like I have an idea that will change your life. No, you are in a you don't pitch an idea trying to validate. You pitch an idea that has already been validated. Now, that's deep. That's deep. That's deep. Right? You don't pitch an idea. You don't pitch an idea that you want to validate. You don't pitch an idea that you are trying to validate. No, you pitch an idea that's already been validated. When you're trying to validate an idea, you ask questions. Honestly, you are humble. Ejo, Ejo, please help me. All right. You are humble about what you're asking because you want them to provide you with honest information and honest data. Right. So ask about the experiences with a particular problem you're trying to solve. If you're trying to bring a shawarma spot somewhere, ask questions because these days the shawarma spot almost every corner. Go there and people look at observe them. If I put a shawarma spot here, are you going to buy? Go to the area, ask questions so that you don't just think, I will put the shawarma spot there. The next thing you don't go and buy shawarma things and go and mount it there. You're going to learn. You're going to learn. You're going to learn. You're going to learn. You're going to learn, man. You're going to learn, bro. All right? You are going to eat shawarma on your own. You are going to eat shawarma on your own, all right? So you want to go there and ask them, if I put a shawarma spot here, are you going to buy? If I open a laundry spot in this place, are you going to bring your clothes? What will I do to make you bring your clothes? You want to ask all those kind of questions. You want to ask it very practically and very honestly. All right. You want to ask it very practically. I want to ask it very honestly. All right. So you ask them the right question. You ask them questions about the problems that you are trying to solve, their experience with those problems. All right. There are different ways to do this. You can use a Google form, or you can get on the phone and ask a question, or you can do a group meeting. And you're, please, I would like to do a brief meeting with people. You can print paper form and ask them to fill it out for you. Maybe you are going for an event and you just pick phone and say, please, I just say, can you get to me every time? But you have to be prepared for rejection. But people no go send you because why should they? But you want to do that. You want to provide questions that helps validate your product, all right? By talking to the people that you're trying to solve the problem for. The more people you talk to, the more you can know if nobody wants to pay for this thing, and then you move to the next thing. All right. The kind of question you want to ask is how often do that problem occur in their life? Because if you ask that kind of questions, it means that it means you can get the amount of time it happens to them means the amount of time it's possible for you to make sales to them. All right. So how often do they encounter that problem? What other things are they trying to use to solve the problem? So you know what's out there. How much has it cost them? So you know if there's money involved. In time, in money, in frustration, in energy, how much does it cost them? So this answer will give you a lot of ideas. It will give you more ideas on how to make your idea better. More ideas. I can't believe why am I doing this? More ideas on how to make your ideas better and all that. So this answer will tell you a lot of things. So that's one way to validate an idea. Speak to the people who need the idea, who need the solution, who need the product, who need the service. Speak to the people directly by asking them questions. Have direct conversations with them. Another way of validating ideas will be to observe existing behavior. How are people behaving currently? And this one now, you have to be trained in a way. You have to have a clear sense of what you're observing. All right. So you don't just observe and just go because you have seen something, you just move. No, you have to observe critically existing behavior of how people are already behaving. How are people learning? How are they loving? How are they leading? How are they moving? All right. How are they creating? And you just want to plug an idea. You want to then help them make it better in a way. All right. So if people are already spending money on a particular thing, and they're already spending money on a partial or a solution that is not fully formed, and you think you can make it better, but you have to observe it properly. All right. So solutions to the problem your idea addresses. All right. So that's a strong validation. People are already paying for this, but there's a way my own is different from this. Oh, so it means since people are already paying for it, there's a whole industry already for it. All right. So no need to. You just have to make it better, and that's a strong validation for you. They're already paying for this one, but me, I want to now make it this way. It means that the demand is real. People are already demanding it, and there's already a willingness to pay. Right. So it's an existing market, observing existing behavior, observing existing human experiences. You know, then you can build something around that area. That's enough to validate it. People are already paying for this thing. Okay, if I pay for it, that means it's already there. So if I do my own in this way, it even makes it better. You even add one thing or other things to what you're trying to sell to them. All right. So this one, the other validations I'm going to talk about, the other validation method I'm going to talk about is about a different type. It depends on your product or your service you're trying to sell or you're trying to develop. Right? You can pre-sell, offer your product or service before it is fully built, before you even finish building it. Just start talking about it. I have a special type of cup that once you drink it, you will never run dry. All right, that's Osimira Tata cup, right? You start talking about the product that you're trying to sell. You start talking about it, and then people, you're going to see if people are responding. Because if you are telling people that your products can do for them and they're not responding, that's a problem. All right, that's a problem. So if nobody, a single payment from a real person about something you are trying to pre-sell, and pre-sale works really like magic. People pre-sale, you can use the money from pre-sale to actually go and build it, or go and order it, or go and create it. All right, but you have to make sure that what you say you are going to do, you have actually validated it. All right, this is market validation right now for pre-sale. So it depends on the industry or the product and service you're trying to create. All right, so that's validation it doesn't take weeks or months, it doesn't take years, it all depends, you know. It depends on the quality of what you're trying to do, anyways. But then it doesn't take months, it shouldn't take long. Just speak to the right people, speak to the people who your solution is for, your idea is for. Speak to them, and then just gather as much response from them as possible. Observe people who observe the market that is already existing and see how they are responding to it and know what you want to add to it, or do a pre-sale and see how people respond, or to give you enough information and then you know what you're doing. I don't get emotional about your idea. All ideas are not created the same. Don't get emotional about your idea. Validate it quickly. So if you want to move on, if you want to go and dust your CV, and want to go and get a job, that's not a spite on. It's not a spite on you. All right. There's no evil in 9 to 5. 9 to 5 is a very great thing. All right. So, but again, validate it quickly. Know if there's a market for it, and then you want to begin to know if you want to get going as much. All right. Oh, thank you, Mary. Mary, I see you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you so much. Yes, Inamdi said this is interesting. Vincent said so much values. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for staying true. And all right, let's just get into other part of the conversation. Another way of so another way to move from idea to income is to define your target audience. All right, define target audience. Your target audience is not everybody. All right, so who could benefit from a product? So it's your target audience will always be the people who the product or your service is meant for. All right, it is specific. It is about a specific group of people for whom your product is most relevant. Now, your target audience is also in a spectrum. There is your perfect target audience. That is your perfect target audience. That they are just on point. Then there are people who they are, not so much of a target audience, but once in a while they will buy from you. Once in a while they will need your product. There are people who randomly, scarcely they will need your product, and then there are people who don't need your product at all. Those are not your target audience. Don't waste your time with those people. The people on different level of those spectrum, your perfect target audience are the people you should be targeting the most. The other people are people you should be, trying to, give offers here and there to help them get into the much more important user group. So define this group in position is what allows you to build the right thing and communicate also with them in the right language. If you define them properly, you'll be able to build the right thing, you'll be able to communicate your product to them clearly, and helps you, and that communication helps you find the right people who buy it. All right. So a useful audience definition also, it helps you, it goes beyond just demographics. That's age. You define your audience by age, sex, gender, and region. Is that it? Age, gender, region. Male between the ages of 7 to 35, male, and in Nigeria, in London, in Cameroon. So each of those Each of those target brackets helps you understand if your target person is between 0 and you know that you are in the kids market, and there's a way to talk within the kids market. You cannot be selling a kids product and be talking as if you are speaking to highly sophisticated people. Although it's also depending on the product, because if it's a product, you have to. That's why it's not just about the demographics, because you can be selling to a particular demographic, and the people who are buying the product itself are not in that demographic. For example, kids. You can be speaking to kids. Your product can be for kids, but you have to speak to their parents. So you have to understand that you can be speaking for kids. It's not all kids products you are selling. They have to go and be dancing like a child. You have to be able to catch the attention of the product of the parents who be buying the product. So that's why you cannot just define your audience by demographics alone. You have to also define your audience by psychographics, much more detailed. All right. So not just about age and location. That's starting point. That's starting point. You have to identify the age, the gender, and the location of your target audience. But that's just the starting point. You actually need to understand the psychography. There are two types of target audience definition. One is the demographic definition, which is the age, gender, and location, and then the psychographic definition, which goes into a deeper understanding of the audience. All right, the deeper reality of your audience. Their frustration, their goals, where they work, what are their aspirations, what do they aspire to. And that's much more detailed definition. And I mean, I don't know, you have to, this is where you speak to a consultant or you speak to somebody who is more experienced in this and they can help you do that as well. So, for instance, if you are building in Nigeria, do they have disposable income? That's another thing, right? It's not just about the age, gender, and location. Do they have disposable income to pay for that thing, right? So, if you are building in Nigeria or in Africa as well, right? The audience definition um, is very, very important, all right? It helps you define the economic context of a product. It means would people be able to buy, right? Because you are dealing in a market where uh, price is such a powerful thing. Hey, price is such a powerful thing, and the gap between high price and low price is such a large gap. It's a U gap between high selling product and low selling product. Such a U gap. And if you are selling high selling product, you are selling to a smaller group. If you're selling a low selling product, you're selling to a larger group. So that's why you need to understand not just the demography, you have to understand the psychography. Do they have money to pay? Why would they pay for it? And all that. So an audience definition is very important. And how do they prefer to pay? What platform do they use? What is the barrier of like connecting with you? Are they online? Do they trust digital payment? Or do they want to? A lot of Nigerians that's this one now is psychography. It's not just age. It's not just age, gender, and location. Now you are touching about the cultural context, their emotional response, how they pay, why they pay, what makes them connect to you. Is it digital first? Is it physical stores? Do you want cash payment? Do you want not cash payments? These are very deep psychographic work that you have to pay quality attention to. You want to earn an income on your product and your services, you have to do the work. There's no easy way to just move from ideas to income. There's a lot of work to do to convert it into an income that sells. I don't want to sell it lightly to you. All right. So a practical tool that can help you. A practical tool is for you to do like a simple audience profile. It can be a one-page description of your ideal buyer. All right, what you call an avatar, a user avatar, or a audience avatar. It's just a clear description that answers, who are they specifically, what is the problem that they are experiencing, how does the problem affect their daily life, what have they already tried, what what would a perfect solution look like to them, what would need to be true for them to pay for your product or your services. So these questions you must have. You can see that it's why not everybody makes money from their ideas. Or this is why not everybody makes money from their idea in the same way. Because the more work you do to move from your ideas to get it to the market as quickly as possible, the better and easier it is for you. All right. So, and the next thing is to define your offer with clarity. I think this is the last one I'm going to talk about so that, it doesn't get too bulky. There's a lot of things to do to that moves an idea to, to help you move from idea to income. A lot of things you need to do to take an idea and then for you to begin to earn an income from it. That's why it's not everybody that can do it. It's not everybody that gets it. It's not everywhere. It's not everybody that actually does it. It's not everybody that can do it because it requires a lot of work. Now people online and or people can make it, they can use you and give you false hope. I mean, I just it's easy. Just no. It's a lot of work, bro. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And none of it is easy. None of it is you try to play. It's doable. It's possible. All right. So another thing is to define your offer. Uh, your offer is not your idea. That's another thing. You can have an idea about something, but that's not your offer. You can have an idea about selling water. That's not your offer. You have even validated the idea. You have validated it as it is there. It is clear. That's not your offer, right? Your offer is it's just a specific, it's a clear sort of like specific, structured proposition. What you are proposing that it helps you tell a potential buyer exactly what they will get, who it is for, and how it will be delivered. Your offer captures a couple of things. It helps tell with a lot of clarity, without any ambiguity, without any confusion. Your offer helps tell your buyer or your target audience that you have identified. Once you've identified your target audience, what your offer does, your offer helps you tell that your target audience what they are getting when they buy, who it is for, and how it will be delivered, what it will cost them, everything. It's a clear, well structured proposal to your audience. You have identified. Okay, you have identified the audience, and that's okay. So this is my audience that I identified. Oh, I want to sell you this water. Let me not give them promotion. I want to sell this water, and this water, right? It is for it costs this amount. If you buy this water, this amount. And I also have it in a carton where you get, if you buy that one, you will get 20 of it in that carton. It costs a different amount. And you have to come to meet me to come and pick it. I will bring it to you. But if you want me to deliver it for you, you pay extra cost. That is describing clearly without any ambiguity the value in the product, what they are going to get, and then how they are going to get it, how much they are going to pay for it. That's just your offer clear. And every one of these elements, every one of these things must be present and clear before you take it to the market. You must know what you're offering your customers. You must know how much it's going to cost you. And there's a whole science to calculating the cost of that one. All right. So how do you define your offer? You define your offer by what will the buyer have in terms of what will they be able to do with the product or experience as a result of your product or your service. What would the buyer really experience? What would they get? How will they get it? And this must be stated in terms of their life, not your process. Not that because of how much you spend time doing it. No, nobody cares about how much you spend time doing it or how much you spend really, really doing it. It's about how will it improve their life? How will it make their life better? How will it improve their life and how will it make their life better? Not how much you love the product, not how much work you did on the product, but how will it improve their life and make their life better? All right. You cannot just say 6 weeks, come and attend the 30-day leadership academy. I run a leadership academy. All right. Let me plug it there. I run this leadership academy. You cannot just say, come and attend the 30-day leadership academy. This academy is for 30 days. That doesn't mean anything. All right. A clear career roadmap and your first paying clients within the 60 days. Yes, once you attend my academy, you're going to get a clear career roadmap, or you're going to get how to structure your business and do all these things we are saying. All right, you're going to learn how to become more confident. If you attend my academy, actually, if you attend my academy, you're going to learn it. How to become more confident, how to become more, how to communicate better, how to lead people in a group, how to build teams. You're able to learn all these things when you attend our academy. And that is what somebody gains from it. So that's an offer. Not it's a 6 weeks thing. It's very durable. It's very no. It's how does it make their life better, right? You talk about the outcome of the product. If they use the product, if they buy the product, this is what they are going to get. The outcome. Then you also speak about the audience who this offer is for specifically. You need my academy. You need to attend my academy if you are struggling, if you don't have a clear vision for your life, or even if you have a clear vision for your life, but you are trying to transition from another place, from one place to another. Attend my academy. It's called Living Leadership Academy. I'm plugging it intentionally, right? Attend my academy if you need to. If you are a fresh graduates, or you are attending currently, you are currently in the NYSC, or you are just about to begin your career, you are struggling to land your first job, you have written CVs here and there. The problem is not those jobs, the problem can be you. So attend my academy. So that's one thing. That's like, who needs the product, who needs the message, who needs the service. You have to define it clearly. So you have to speak clearly to those people as well. The more precisely this is clear, the more the right people will recognize it. They will recognize themselves in your message, and they will buy from you, or they will connect with you. And you can begin to make income from there. All right. Another way to define your offer is through the delivery. How is it delivered? My academy is practically on, it's 100% online, everything online, and self-paced, everything is online. How will the outcome be delivered? So it's clearly online. Is it a physical product? Would they come and pick it up? Is it online? Is it offline? You have to define the delivery mechanism, define it clearly to in your offer. How will the outcome be delivered? Is it a recorded session? Yes, mine it's not a recorded session, it's a live session, plus you can really watch it. If it's a, is it a physical product? Do they have to pay for delivery? Is it, how heavy is it? You have to explain to them. You can just carry it in your hand, you can move it, or you need a vehicle to carry it if you're buying a very huge product. So there are a lot of things. The format must be clear and must make sense for the outcome you are promising. You cannot be promising an outcome, and the format you are using to promise it does not make sense. People will not, they'll feel a disconnect. All right. And then you have to be clear on the price as well. What does it cost? Why is it a fair price? Make a comparison. People in this other industry are charging X amount. For me, I'm charging this amount because I want you to get that. All right. So pricing should always be anchored on the value of the outcome, not your comfort level, not because of your cheapest. No, no, no. It should be based on the outcome. If your offer produces a genuinely valuable outcome, price it accordingly and prepare to speak on it. Right. So run your completed offer through the following things. Uh, run your completed offer through a clear outcome. Um, Run it through the clear outcome, the audience, the delivery mechanism, and the price. If you do that, you are going to have a clear offer. Another thing is you have to choose the right vehicle, you choose the right product. The right vehicle can be, is it online, is it offline? Do I want to open a store? Is it a service? Okay, let me define that. Services are delivery mechanism where your skill, your time, and your direct effort are the core of what you are selling. Like your speaking engagement, like your consulting services, or like a skill that you have learned, like social media management, or a mechanic, for instance, a carpenter. Those are all services. They are in the service business. Whilst a product it's a tangible thing you are actually offering them, that they get it. It can be a digital product. Digital products are can be from an ebook to a software to an app. Those are all digital service. Even your music is it's a digital product, right? Music is a digital product. Your videos are all digital products, right? So your services are a result of your skill, your effort, something that you are directly involved in. Your product is it's something you create that is transferable, and it can be a digital product or a physical product. A digital product can be a course, a guide, a template, a software, an app, a membership to a community. These are all built once and they are sold repeatedly. All right, that's the power of a digital product. For physical products, it all depends. It can be, it ranges from a fan to a laptop to LED lights. It's all about something you built physically that people can buy and go with. You have to do that one. You have to be able to consider unit economic cost and things like that. So for most Nigerians starting out, the most practical place to begin eh, is begin with a service to generate income. You have a skill, you have something, and then you begin with a service to generate income, and then it's quickly to validate that people need that services, and then from there you make an offer, describe the outcome of your service, define the audience, define the delivery method, define the cost and validate the cost against the outcome, and then you are good to go. Like I said, build a minimum viable offer. What's the smallest version of that product or that service you can offer, and then get yourself, then do everything you can to get your first sale. Now, getting your first sale is where a lot of work needs to be done. Talk directly with people, and when you have an offer it to people. Simple. When you have your offer, your minimum viable offer it to people. The smallest version of that offer it to people. All right, so that people can pay. Offer it to people. Offer it to people. And where do you meet people? You can meet people online. You can meet people on WhatsApp. You can meet people in your street. You can meet people in your church. You can meet people in the mosque. You can meet people. You can meet people in the field. You can meet people anywhere, on your street, in church, in your WhatsApp status or on social media, and all. But it's not the only way. You can meet people anywhere, in church, in the mosque, in the conference. You can meet people anywhere people are gathered. You can meet people there. You can begin to you make sales by talking to people. The more people you talk to, the more sales you can make. The more people you talk to, the more people you can make. All right. Make it easy to pay. Make it so when it's time to make sales, make it. You don't say, I want cash. Get the most efficient way to collect money. Make it easy for people to pay you. Bank transfers, POS if you can get that, but transfers and cash, make it easy to pay. Then systemize and improve, and then you can begin to scale. Right? Every concept that I've talked about, everything that I've talked about here is useful. Each step. But it's useful. The usefulness only comes from you taking action, right? The gap between people who build successful products and services and people who don't is really intelligence. It's really about talent. It's really about just available resources. It is about the willingness, right, to move an idea from. It's about the willingness to move on an idea, to take actions, to before the conditions are perfect, before things are aligning, before things are clear, you take action on an idea. All right. From this video, you now understand what an idea is, what an idea isn't. You now know that not every idea deserves to be built. You now know that not all ideas are not created equal. And you have the criteria, if you watch the video, to tell the difference. You know where strong ideas come from, and then how to position yourself to generate them consistently. And you have a clear step, a sequential step on how to take those ideas from a raw start and turn them into your first income. Your first income happens when you make a sale. And you know, I've shared step by step on how to do so. Now, the only question is, will you act on this? Will you take the right step to act on this? All right. So, one thing I want you to say to yourself before you leave this session, before you stop watching it, before we get off night, is to identify the idea you are going to validate. Right. Put a timeline to it. You are saying, okay, I want to validate an idea I've been thinking about very quickly. I want to validate it. All right. I want to do it next month. I want to do it this week. I want to do it tomorrow. Identify it quickly. Write down, generate the questions. You can put in the comments. I can help you with some things as well. Or make sure you find somebody to hold you accountable on the ideas that you have, and then begin to go through the sequence of this of the content of this session, and begin to go through the sequence step by step, validate it, do your test, do your research, find your audience, talk to people directly, do all that, generate questions and ask people directly, do all that. Take the step by step actions you take to validate the ideas, and your income is at the end of that step. The income you're going to earn and the money you are looking to make is at the end of your actions you are taking now about the ideas you are about to validate. And I wish you all the best. Really, really, really wish you all the best. If you have any question, I think there's a question. I hope I answered your question. I really hope I answered the question. I would wait for a few minutes to take any other question. I genuinely wish you all the best. You're trying to make income. You're trying to make money. You have an idea. You are trying to understand, can this idea work? Will I be able to make any money from this idea? The answer is yes, but you have to validate it. You have to validate it, understand what you need to do, how you need to go about it. And this video, everything I've shared here, I've shared basically about how to move from idea to income, or how to build your first product or service. I've shared step by step on how to go about it. All right. If there's no question, or whenever you do watch this, because I would love people to rewatch this. Whenever you do watch it and you get to this point and you have a question, you can drop it. Someone on my team or myself will look at it eventually, and we can always respond to you. Again, please like, please share, and please subscribe. Like, share, comment, and subscribe if you get to this point. Thank you all for watching. I do appreciate those who are still here. If you have a question, I can still take a question. I'm seeing somebody typing something. All right. If you have a question, I can still take a question very quickly. But otherwise, let us call it a night. All right. Thank you very much for watching. Thanks very much for staying. Thanks very much for watching. And even though you're watching, please like, share, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Good night.